My name is Murat Karslioğlu. I am the Director of Engineering for Nexenta Solutions portfolio. So you have seen this slide before on Jill's presentation, but I have to start it from the same slide since Nexenta Connect sits on top of our flagship product called Nexenta Store. So everyone is aware of what Nexenta Store is. It is a unified storage operating system. It sits on x86 platform, provides file, SMB, NFS, and iSCSI fiber channel storage. So what we have done with Nexenta Connect and how we define Nexenta Connect, it's an orchestration and storage provisioning tool for software-defined storage. I don't want to define software-defined storage, but we talked about what industries Nexenta Store plays well. But in general, Nexenta Store running on top of bare metal hardware is for storage admins. You need to know at least the basics of storage, how to set NFS, how to set SMB, iSCSI, how to carve LANs. But we have customers in all segments. VDI, if not thousands, we have hundreds of customers. Do you have a question?
Yeah. Do you have plans for vCenter plugins and?
Yes, we do have vCenter plugin announced. I can talk about it. So that vCenter plugin is free to use. What it does, it runs on top of vCenter web client, allows you to connect and manage your external Nexenta Store appliance. Mm-hmm. So using that interface, you can create NFS and iSCSI shares, and it automatically mounts it back to your ESXi hosts.
And will that help move it away from being storage for storage admins and being easier for?
Yeah, that was a small start. It was kind of a limited version of what I'm gonna talk about now. Nexenta Connect takes it to a next step and makes it completely hypervisor integrated. So we run in any workload, VDI, we can be backend to hypervisor as an NFS or iSCSI fiber channel. We have cloud integration, and we run in all type of workloads very well. But again, this is Nexenta storage is for storage admins. Nexenta Connect.
Cloud integration is object storage on the back end of Nexenta. Is that how this is played out? Or?
Cloud integration.
Yeah.
Cloud integration with OpenStack. We have Cinder drivers. Maybe Robert can explain it well.
It's just we basically we've published. I can't tell you. Turn that on again.
There we go. We've published a set of Cinder drivers for OpenStack, and we have been able to successfully install that underneath OpenStack. There's some limitations there because OpenStack does some sort of silly things when it copies volume to volume. It brings it all the way up and then sends it all the way down, where we're trying to get them to put in extensions that would allow us to do local copies. Right.
But you don't actually talk to cloud storage in the back end. What you're talking to is JVAS or DAS in the back end.
That's right.
Yes, that is
or
right.
Or fiber channel storage.
Right. Different when we get to Edge. We'll talk about that later.
In fact, Nexenta Store was even announced as by Gartner lowest cost per desktop for VDI deployments. There was a recent blog from Gunnar when he was at Gartner. So what we have done to simplify it and make storage available for everyone else, because in IT infrastructure, when you are a VDI admin, you want to deploy a VDI environment and you rely on your networking guy. You need to go to your storage person, ask for LAN. You don't know how much to ask. You don't know what kind of performance you expect. Most of the time you either over provision or under provision. It brings your VDI per desktop cost higher, or you suffer from low performance. What we have done, first Nexenta Connect, last year we have announced Nexenta Connect for VMware Horizon. That was the first piece of Nexenta Connect suite. It is a management user interface to remove all storage knowledge and put it into an algorithm. And what it does for every segment, if it's a VDI solution, Nexenta Connect for Horizon Miro, Zen Desktop, A single interface asks you VDI questions, not storage questions. How many desktop you want, what kind of desktop performance you expect, and on the background, we automate the provisioning of storage, deploy the storage, and give you desktops, not storage, because you are not a storage admin. So that is, to me, I don't want to, again, try to define software-defined storage, but this is a real hard, solid software-defined storage integration in the market. And what we are going to talk about will answer your question, Nexenta Connect for VMware Virtual SAN. So we are expanding that automation piece to VMware Virtual SAN. And I want to step back and talk about, we have VMware experts in the room, of course, but for the other audience, I want to talk about a little bit Virtual SAN, what it provides you.
Do you handle both of them from vCenter, or do you handle it from your web interface?
Everything from vCenter. Our UI is moved into vCenter. Now we will have a quick UI demo and also video. So vSAN provides us, if we like it or not, it's a new trend, it's a growing trend. It provides a scale-out hyperconverged model. Without hardware locking, but you are locked into hypervisor. But it provides storage for VMDK only. I will talk about it, what that means. It doesn't provide file storage for your, let's say, VDI profiles or root directories or even ISO files. Let's say you have a blade server with minimal drives, 1 HDD, 2 HDD, 2 SSD. You build a vSAN cluster that doesn't give you any data store to put your ISO files. You still need an external storage, an appliance storage box to put your ISO files, to put your files. That means so-called scale-out is not, so-called hyperconverge is not really complete hyperconverge. But it gives you simple management. If you have a small office, what you need is a couple of ESXi box, install vSAN, you have kind of everything in a box. And it's based on availabilities, based on VMware storage policies. So what it does, in a simple way, you can compare it to a RAID level, what RAID controllers are providing us. VMware storage policies provide us availability based on policies for VMs. So it's not disk. It's not like having parity drives or RAID 5 on the disk level. It is having a parity or kind of a RAID at the virtual machine level. So it asks you number of host failures to tolerate, how many disks to stripe your VMs. When you create a VM, you set a storage policy. Your VM is replicated over the network to multiple hosts. When you do that, if there is no compression or over the network traffic reduction, you rely on your network traffic. If there is 1 gig network backing your vSAN, there is no way you can have a fast replication. And even with 10G, if you are running over 100 VMs, everything needs to be replicated over your 10G network, and it becomes kind of a bottleneck there. And there are different policies in that too. But what we are seeing is, yes, VMs get VMDKs, you get your files inside the VMs, but no files for vSAN or no files for your so-called hyperconverged model. Probably the idea was, who needs files? I just want to put my VMs on it. But users need files. They need to put their files somewhere. Of course, this virtual SAN comes with some known and unknown limitations. So there is no storage for files officially. There are workarounds. You can store unofficially files on it, but it is not supported. Data is locked to your vSAN cluster. Let's say you have, and that lock is up to 32 nodes for now. You create a vSAN cluster, and all your ESXi hosts on that up to 32 nodes can access to that VSAN cluster, but it is still a limitation. And then, of course, all ESXi hosts needs to be on VSAN HCL, all needs to have a VSAN license. By the way, we don't talk about this part, but using Nexenta Connect, you can also save from licensing cost. I will not talk about how, but some of our beta customers figured out. And also SSD is used for cache only. So even if you have all SSD appliance, you need to go and mark your SSDs as HDD to be able to make it kind of a fake VSAN design. And by the way, the last three is kind of not announced, not well-known limitation. VSAN data store does not have SCSI reservations. That means if you have a shared HA, active passive Nexenta store HA, we cannot reserve that area. We can't use SCSI reservation to have Nexenta HA. And many other applications also use SCSI reservation. They cannot use VSAN. It's called VSAN, but it is a shared scale-out data store, not really a SAN, because it's not shared like iSCSI or Fiber Channel. And the other limitation is, even though new version of vSphere, even 6.0, has larger VMDK size limitation, as I remember it was 64 terabyte now. Yeah. With vSAN, you cannot have larger than 2 terabyte VMDKs.
That's
you need to.
Not true anymore. For the last 6
in
months.
5.5, as we designed the product at 5.5, it wasn't allowed.
So do you not?
With 6.0, yeah, with 6.0, that limitation will be removed, but 6.0 is planned for
5.5 supports 62 terabyte.
single VMDK.
Yeah.
Okay. And also, there is no compression and no form of data deduplication yet. So what Nexenta Connect does is completes hyperconverge with providing file services on top. We will look into the user interface web client next, but what it does, very basic. So it is not, we have Nexenta Store on the back end, but that Nexenta Store piece can be Nexenta Edge. In the future, we are providing an automation piece and user interface, kind of a logic that removes need for storage expertise. So we provide file storage for user data, department data, or ISO files. And it is completely managed from vSphere web client interface. You don't even see Nexenta Store interface. In fact, it is disabled. It comes with inline compression. We will see how it affects to your files on live demo, video demo. And it provides performance and health monitoring of your file services. Very simple way. It's not really detailed deep. It's version 1.0, by the way. And for now, we are providing only snapshots, folder and folder level snapshots. But replication will be added on the next version.
I have a question.
Yeah.
What is the use case for having VMware Virtual SAN, and then basically you're taking Nexenta and putting it on top of Virtual SAN, right?
What is
You're doing NFS over top of block?
We are doing NFS, yeah, over top of VSAN, yes.
So I'm buying two products? I'm buying Virtual SAN and then I'm deciding to not use it and then to use Nexenta?
No, you are buying VSAN for your block storage, but to put your files,
there you go.
NFS and SMB, you need some service on top.
VSAN is only going to work on itself, right? So you're basically creating a VSA so you have NFS access to your VSAN store.
That's it.
That's it.
Yeah. So you can what VSAN provides us is a scale out. Nexenta Store is a scale up solution. When we have VSAN, you can add ESXi host, scale up, and that can dynamically, that space can dynamically be taken with by Nexenta Store and presented to the user.
But that's scale out, right? You're adding more ESXi hosts, you're scaling it out.
Yeah, VSAN is scaling out, but our space on VSAN also scales. With that, our disk scales, and for Nexenta Store, we are technically still scaling up, but when our disk scales, which is VSAN, we also scale out. And also high availability with VMware HA. You can take that appliance as a VSA, like VMware's VSA, but more advanced version of any type of VSA, since it has Nexenta Store's background and expertise in that. And we will see a running one, but it is completely integrated into vSphere web client, and it is really a clean, without any details, without trying to show all the storage parameters. What it does, it has 3 main widgets. So performance summary shows your VSA's virtual CPU and cache it. Then IOPS number shows NFS, sum of NFS and SMB IOPS. Latency is obviously latency. And what acceleration shows you is a comparison of disk level, VSAN level I/O versus SMB I/O. And we will talk about how we accelerate, but this product is not for acceleration. This just simply providing file services. By using Nexenta Store, naturally we accelerate VSAN too by compression, by using local ARC from that virtual storage appliance. And the summary shows very simple again how many NFS and SMB shares you have. Storage area shows two different numbers for the free size. The first one is your physically dedicated space. Go ahead.
So I have a question which is not technical, but more about the business case for this technology. So I buy VSAN, which is a primary storage, and which is very costly because I have not duplication, nothing. Okay. Yes. And it's very, very expensive. On top of that, I put a solution, which is your one. And so the cost of my files is huge at the end of the day. And the problem is, so if I need a NAS, I don't buy VSAN for a NAS. I buy a NAS. Yes. Even in the most hyper-converged infrastructure of this world, the hyperconvergent storage is 100% for primary data, which is not the file of the guy in the HR office or whatever. So why putting your solution on top of VSAN?
A few reasons. This was co-developed kind of with VMware, and we shared ideas. We are currently the only file services, as I know of today, providing file services on top of VSAN in their ecosystem. But the whole idea was VSAN is not a main, is not planned to be main data store. It is not planned to be the tier 1 data store. VSAN was planned to be small office, mid-size office.
This is not what VMware is saying to all the world. So they admit that they have some limitation in 1.0, but they are working very hard to put
yeah, they are improving the product. Yeah, obviously they are improving the product, but would you put your primary data on VSAN without all the storage capabilities, dedupe, compression, or block, iSCSI fiber channel, or any type of NFS SMB capabilities? It is not VSAN is not a storage appliance replacement. It is some feature that probably gets VMware into a storage market, but they don't want to also compete with EMC.
I don't know. I don't buy the story. Sorry.
Yeah.
I would pick one solution And I'd either do block or I would do file. And if I was going to do file, maybe I would use Nexenta. If I was going to do block, I would.
There are many VSAs out there that they do block files and whatever.
Yes,
and,
yeah, you can
very
put it
flexible from many point of views. So.
But our point in general is small and mid-sized businesses and simplicity. So you don't have, you are not a storage admin, you are a virtualization admin, let's say, and you have an offsite location, and some of the customers we are working are government clients or military. They have a lot of different VSAN deployments in different areas, but they have a need for file services. You may ask, why not deploy a Windows machine and just share files? But Windows
don't get me wrong, but if I am an enterprise customer, I have a contract with Microsoft, and probably a Windows instance, Windows Server instance costs me almost zero.
Yeah.
And I can put a Windows Server, I can activate all the file services of this world.
Yeah.
It works. And it provides all the services, compression, whatever you want, deduplication now, etc. And SMB free.
You already have those licenses. Why would you buy Nexenta on top of licenses you already have?
You already have, but not everybody has a taste for an operating system. Not everyone is a Microsoft person. There are areas that people are. We know customers, in fact, they can't use Microsoft for various reasons. But there are, of course, there are areas that they are Microsoft shops and they have SMB and SIFs already. But you have to manage a Microsoft OS. You have to manage the updates, many different reasons. I'm not trying to say that you can't use Microsoft. Yes, you can. But this is a different type of solution, completely integrated into web client. So you are a web admin, you are a vSphere admin, VMware admin. You can do it. You can do everything from a single interface. You don't need to deploy a VM. You don't need to update the VM. You are not worried about any Microsoft viruses people put on the chairs, because it is completely. No one writes virus for Illumos.
So I think one of the points here is that, yeah, so if you're a large enterprise customer, you're deploying vSAN in, hey, an environment, you're likely going to have a NAS somewhere out in the solution that you could potentially utilize, right? The other use case is if you're actually, you're deploying a vSAN in a smaller environment where you want to use the vSAN storage for all of your storage, right? This is where this solution comes in, and you can argue that, hey, you can run a Windows machine that essentially shares that out, or you can use a solution like this that's fully integrated into the vSphere environment. And then it becomes, who's actually administrating that box? And we're proposing that, hey, that box is going to be administrated largely by the virtualization guy. And then that's when the value add comes in for this.
So if your requirement is simplicity, why don't you just use this instead of vSAN?
I was just going to say that if you've bought vSAN and you then have to buy something else to make it actually work.
There is a point, we can talk offline, but two scenarios. So two scenarios, you can have complete vSAN deployment without Nexenta Store. If you put Nexenta Store, same hardware, license for, and also hardware savings can be up to 60,000 to 100,000. That includes Nexenta's licensing too. How? Yes, there are many ways. So you compress the data, it takes less. First of all, you can put more data on it. And also your data is locked into, let's say, for vSAN cluster, you need to have license on every host accessing to that cluster, right? So let's say you have 32 hosts, half of it has drives and committing drives. 16 hosts have drives. Others are just consuming vSAN as a data store, but then you need to have a license for all 32. In our case, you can just license for 16, and the remaining 16 can access the same scale-out data store without the vSAN license over NFS.
Yeah, sure, but that's what they say. Then why not buy Nexenta and let vSAN just out of your data center?
Nexenta doesn't provide scale out, and licensing is different for this product. It is
No, so I mean, so the point being, hey, you can use Nexenta Store as a backend for ESX, right? Absolutely. We have a lot of customers that do exactly that today, right? It doesn't give you the scale out notion of VSAN, right? Where you, once you hit the capability of the HA pair, you'll have to deploy another HA pair, right? So the people or the customers that buy into the VSAN, hey, this is a scale out architecture and want to be able to use a scale out type architecture within the VMware ecosystem, they get the block storage through VMware and through vSAN, but they don't have any component for file storage. And that's a small gap that the vSAN, the Nexenta Connect for virtual vSAN or for VMware Virtual SAN is kind of filling. And that we've chosen to do that through Nexenta Store in the back end, which is basically the VSA driving it. And then we've integrated that completely into the web client.
And also licensing piece. So of course you may want to, if it's performance system, you obviously want to run it on bare metal, not as a VSA. But running as a VSA, Nexenta Store is licensed by capacity. If you have 200 terabytes of space, it is licensed by capacity. It will be over what you are going to pay for Nexenta Connect. Nexenta Connect is licensed per socket. You need to have same number of socket licenses that you have for vSAN, and it is $650 per socket.
I had a question on the UI that you had on the screen before that.
Yeah, I have a video I can run actually. Yes.
That one. For the performance, I see IOPS, I see latency. I don't see bandwidth.
Yes, you can from IOPS latency calculate, but there is no bandwidth displayed on the UI. So from a user survey and our group of people that we are targeting to provide the software, that's what they were looking for. So we don't want to replace Nexenta Store user interface. So Nexenta Store on the back end, you can go to the CLI and still get a lot of information from dtrace like you get from Nexenta Store. But this was planned to have just provide file service and simplify Nexenta Store. Yeah, we are all technical. If you are familiar with Nexenta Store user interface, when that product started, we tried to put everything on the user interface because the founders and the technical team, we want to see it on the user interface. But there is a different group of people, they don't want to see that detail. It is available on the background. It is available from the monitoring side of the product, but not on the summary page.
Okay. And just to clear this up a little bit, you're using vSAN as scale out so that your Nexenta Store can scale up because Nexenta doesn't have a scale out solution?
You're correct at this moment. Robert will get into that with Nexenta Edge.
Okay.
Nexenta Store is a scale up solution.
So I'd rephrase that. What we're doing is that we're trying, sorry, I'm right behind you. What we're doing is that we're helping vSAN provide file services using only the storage that vSAN has, so that you don't need to rely on a third or an external NAS or something like that, so that you can provide an entire environment just from that vSAN, right? That's what we're doing. We're not, thinking, hey, we're gonna automatically get huge scale from using Nexenta Store on vSAN. That's not the goal. The goal is providing file services within the vSAN environment for those VMs without having to rely on external resources. Okay. Does that clarify it a bit better? Okay.
I want to get into a question.
You mentioned earlier, if you want performance, you go for on the bare metal and not as a VSA. Do you have numbers that say what kind of overhead the VSA has versus bare metal?
It is really difficult to, yes, it is really difficult to compare because there is an overhead of VMware too when you have VSA.
Yeah.
So from the same hardware, of course, it is not an exact, we haven't done many tests, but from reference architecture we know, so using VSA versus bare metal, same hardware, you lose 25 to 30% performance. It is a big hit.
And next question following on from that then is, do you have comparison of the VSA versus the VSAN implementation in the kernel?
VSA versus the VSAN integration?
Yeah, so doing block storage access through your Nexenta Store VSA versus
Direct
VMware
access to
VSAN.
the, yes. I guess this answers the question. So accelerate, if I understood correct, so acceleration, no?
No. If I was going to buy Nexenta Store for block storage, or I was going to buy VSAN, I was like, making a decision there.
I would consider, so are you, that's really to me two different use cases in that sense, in the sense that, well, why are you choosing VSAN, or what's the driving factor behind the VSAN? Why do you want to go that route?
I've got a bunch of hardware and I'm a VMware shop.
Yeah.
And I want to do software-defined storage, and I've got block storage requirements. And VMware are hammering me on one side saying, take vSAN. You guys and a bunch of other people are hammering on the other side saying, take a VSA.
So I think they're different things. Like Nexenta Connect is primarily, I mean,
I'm sorry, I'm not talking about Nexenta Connect.
You're thinking about
Nexenta Store.
Okay, sorry. That's why
I
was
pulling you off on a tangent.
Sorry. So kind of the performance vSAN versus Nexenta Store.
Yeah.
I at least haven't seen
you don't have it
back to back because the architectures are so different. One's a scale out, one's a scale up. It becomes really hard to compare apples to apples.
Yeah, thank you.
So I want to get into architecture and internals of it very quick. This won't take more than 4 or 5 minutes. So this is how it looks right now without Nexenta Store. You have your vCenter server. This is a larger view of vCenter server. vCenter has a front end and back end running inside. And then you have ESXi hosts. And under that you have a virtual SAN scale out storage. So what we have done, and you will see the installation, our idea is to simplify it. Everything needs to be click, click. So we are running a user interface and a small piece of server inside vCenter, and vCenter does not allow you to run, as a plugin, does not allow you to run long task or store a database inside. We have a management VM built from scratch. It's based on Ubuntu, running some servers and MongoDB inside. So you have 3 pieces with Nexenta Connect. One is the agent that you install into vCenter. Other 2 pieces are Nexenta Connect Manager that runs as a VM. It doesn't take much, 1 vCPU and 1 meg of space to run long tasks and store database, because we can't run and store in vCenter. And that from your user interface, when you add a folder or process any action, that goes to your Nexenta Connect Manager. That is our management appliance that stores everything and has a server on the back. And that deploys Nexenta Store as a virtual storage appliance.
So there was a question about the Nexenta Connect pricing. You had mentioned that it was on per focus?
Per socket. And it is similar to virtual SAN licensing per socket.
Per socket, okay.
Per socket, it's 650 per socket. And Nexenta Connect Manager handles all the automation, provisions Nexenta Store as a VSA, fine-tunes all the ZFS parameters, grabs a space from your vSAN, mounts it as a VMDK, then creates the volume and ZFS pool, and provides NFS share back to, or SMB share back to your network.
Now, with your per socket pricing, does that include the Nexenta storage and unlimited terabytes with it?
It is unlimited terabyte. That is another benefit of it. You don't, even if you go to up to 200 terabytes, you just pay per socket, but expectation is not performance and also it is kind of a stripped down version of an Nexenta store. It doesn't have all capabilities of Nexenta store. It just provides file, not block, not. And this is how it's architected. We have one VSA currently per VSAN cluster. You may have multiple VSAN clusters, but when manager deploys our VSA, you have one VSA, but separate file systems per storage policy. Let's say you have 3 different storage policies. Each requires different availability. One is just for lab use, you don't need any availability. Other is for finance, you need some stability. VMware handles VMDK's availability through storage profiles, but we take on top of vSAN, there is single VSA, VMDKs associated with separate storage profiles build a file system inside. And then, of course, you benefit from global caching. By global caching, of course, I mean ARC. So that is the memory on your VSA. Is used for read cache. And you will see it's impressive, actually, on the user interface, how much it caches. And inline data reduction. Data reduction, currently it has compression only. It's using LZ4. But next version will also may have deduplication integrated. And that provides NFS and SMB back to your network.
And what's the, is there a recommended amount of memory or anything used for the global caching?
So the Nexenta Connect Manager technically adjusts that on live. Based on the capacity, we have some algorithm that puts some memory. Let's say you get 16 gig of memory for your VSA. But then you can power off that VSA, expand the memory if you want, and power it on again. We just take what is necessary. We try to remove that guessing also. That is the whole purpose, to simplify. And to show how simple it is, I want to show a very quick video what it takes to install. You have a running vSAN cluster, and you deploy your 2 OVF files. One is manager, other is the template of Nexenta store, and it is single MSI installer. You click next, next. It needs to connect to your vCenter. You type a username that has access to vCenter. It validates, I connect, and then that Nexenta Connect Manager VM that I showed previously has an IP. So that IP, I type it on my installer. Validate. It connects. Next. Install. Done. It's installed. Now I will bring up the vCenter web client interface. So that plugin adds 2 icons to your home page. One is the settings. When you type into the installer, they are already configured. But if you change in the future, you change your manager's IP, you change your networking, everything is saved under the configuration, and as well as licensing part. Register Nexenta Connect. It is per socket. It shows your, and a product is, by the way, free to use completely for 45 days. Doesn't require license to evaluate.
What happens when it expires?
When it expires, we keep your files. We just remove some capabilities. You cannot add new folders. You cannot create snapshots. You can't take new snapshots. You can re-enter a valid license and make it available, but we don't touch your data. Data stays there.
So the protocols stay functioning and you can still read from it?
Yes. All right. For home usage, you can deploy and forever stay there. You pick your vSAN data store and user interface comes up. So the next quick video shows how it functions and shows the snapshot functionality. So again, I go to my Nexenta filers, I pick my VSAN data store. If you have multiple, it will show on the, and getting started shows what interface looks like, and everything is on summary. You can see I'm copying some files over, and acceleration is extreme, and it's real number, 400 times faster than copying files on VSAN. We have some monitoring piece, and data reduction shows the compression. It's really easy to add folder. I clicked on add folder, and we don't ask a lot of technical storage question. You just need to pick NFS or SMB. There are some default configuration. And look how fast it builds. It is building in less than 5-6 seconds. Now you have your new share. So now I'm going to go to my Windows client and browse to that. Yep, it showed up. So here is my new folder. I want to show you data protection, how snapshots are integrated into Windows previous files. I'm going to create a text file and type, let's say, version 1 inside. Okay, I have first version of my file, and I'm a user. I don't know anything about storage. My virtualization admin goes into data protection area and clicks on snapshot. It creates snapshot, and we have also snapshot scheduler. You can create daily, weekly, and there is a retention policy. You can keep it for up to X days. Now I have a snapshot, and I'm going to change the file. I am the user now. Version 2 I changed, and my virtualization admin, and I'm creating a folder again there, takes care of my snapshots, simple snapshots, without doing anything. So I'm not taking any backup as a user. It could be scheduled, but now, okay, I got another snapshot, and I'm gonna change that file from version 2 to version, say, 3. I keep changing, edit some text, and I don't know anything about backups as a user, so my admin keeps creating snapshots. So now I get back to my share. I didn't take any backup. Right click on my file, and from properties it is that simple, integrated into Windows previous versions. It will show your storage snapshots without taking any backup. So you can open that file. My original last version was 3. It shows version 1. It shows version 2. Same things can be done at file, folder, or complete share level. You can see your previous versions of the folders, as well as there is no file there. And if you click on the main share, that mount itself, you will see 3 versions of that mount. And I don't need to worry about backups anymore. For small office, if they don't have a backup story, so you can access to the same files.
Is this using VSS?
No.
Okay.
It's not using VSS.
This is for files only, not for, and it is not a crash consistent snapshot.
It's not crash consistent.
Has to be crash
Oh,
consistent.
you mean it is crash
It is
consistent?
crash.
Oh yeah, I mean it is
Okay.
crash consistent. So that's pretty much it on the UI side, and
It's like taking a snap on a NetApp or anything else. Unless you script it out, it won't be.
so of course we don't sell any hardware, but to start, that's a basic reference architecture. You can have minimum 3 hosts. Everything is VMware VSAN limitation prerequisites. You can start with the minimum Dell, Supermicro, or any of the partner hardware which is VSAN certified. What you need from licensing perspective is vSphere, of course, ESXi license, vCenter license, and minimum of 3 virtual SAN socket license. And on top, what we add is, again, following the virtual SAN licensing, you need 3 socket license for Nexenta Connect, and also support license that renews every year. And that provides, now you have complete all-in-one, if you are deploying a VDI in a box type of setup, Dell has a Vertex, Supermicro has SPB or quad node type of servers. You can now provide VDI in a box with complete file services.
Can you go back?
Yeah.
It's 2 vCPUs, so 2 sockets. It's 3 Nexenta Connect licenses.
2, 3.
Yeah, 3.
It's supposed to be 2. I'm pretty sure.
So that's a 2-socket server there.
Oh yeah, that's a 2-socket server, but minimum license. Yes. Yeah. So yeah. Oh, that requires no. So let me correct it. So you need to have, for some reason, Dell has a single socket VSAN certified server. 3 of them gives you 3 sockets.
Okay.
It is not a dual socket server.
Standing on the other side, but it's okay.
The basic premise is we follow the VSAN licensing.
Okay. Yep.
That is following.
Make it easy.
So you probably seen the announcement at VMware Barcelona about EvoRail, Supermicro announcing partnership with Nexenta to provide Nexenta Connect for vSAN integrated into their EvoRail deployment, and also same from Dell. They are planning to include Nexenta Connect for vSAN installed when they ship out EvoRail. So we compare EvoRail is even simpler version of converged, but now we are completing EvoRail with file services.